You're listening to Great Love Media.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's number one dating and relationship podcast since 2015. I'm very excited about this. I'm going to bring her in right off the bat. It's not that I'm not excited about her, but I'm excited about the podcast too. She is our old friend. She is the winner of season 3 of The Bachelor, and she was the Bachelorette. And most importantly, she's the host of From the Bachelor to the Burbs podcast. She was on this show about 5 months ago, and I need to bring her back for this very special episode. Jen Schefft Waterman, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for bringing me on your very special episode.
It's a very special. Remember when we were kids and there was like a very special
yes.
Family Ties?
Mm-hmm. I do. I loved those shows too.
Or Happy Days, and like Fonzie was in the hospital. This is a very special Great Love Debate podcast. So many people are relocating, and they're thinking about relocating. And people are headed to Arizona, and they're headed to Tennessee, and lots of places in Florida, and Nevada, and New Mexico, and Montana, and all sorts of new places and greener pastures. And that's one of the results of not just this last year, but the last few years. People are like, where should I go? Where should I not go? So if you're single or you're looking for new love, you know, as we always tell you guys, there's some landmines that you want to avoid, and we always want to steer you in the right direction around here. So earlier in the year, back, I think it was in the late spring, we put out our top 10 cities in America to find love. And those aren't necessarily the places you want to move to, because some of those places are better if you grew up there or near there, have some familiarity and understood the culture. But so they're welcoming, and they're ultimately very loving places, but I'm not sure you want to just parachute in and say, here I am, have at it. Like, I don't think you want to do that. But that list, and before I review that list, I'm going to ask Jen, if you had to just pick off the top of your head, what do you think the best city in America to find love? If you were just single again, or went back to your single, you're like, what place would be, you're like, I bet that's the best place.
Gosh, that's a hard question. It's not Cleveland where I live. I don't know. But I think maybe Nashville. I don't know.
Nashville was on the list. Nashville was 8th.
8th. Okay. Number 1. I mean.
And we had a new number 1 this year, so it's not that easy.
Gosh,
but
I don't
Nashville.
know. I mean,
give me one more guess.
Charlotte
was 10th. So good.
Oh, good.
You got 2 of the
They're
top
warmer.
10.
People want to I don't know. I just think something about the warmer climate.
They are. They're vibrant. They're growing. They have new people. They churn the pool up everywhere. Yeah. No, number 1 this year was Pittsburgh.
Oh my, Pittsburgh.
And you people have to go back and listen to why I laid it all out. But the top 10 for 2020 to review, and this is the good ones, was Pittsburgh, Boston, Atlanta, Milwaukee, Austin, Minneapolis, Chicago, Nashville, DC, and Charlotte. So we put out that list, and you should consider all those places. And that list got a fair amount of attention, especially in Pittsburgh, where people in Pittsburgh spend their whole lives shouting, yeah, Pittsburgh, awesome, black and yellow, the whole thing. Pittsburgh's a great place. Except these people are now suddenly screaming, no, Pittsburgh sucks. What are you talking about? Because nobody wants to be living in the place that's the best to find love without having found it.
That's true.
So people are like, oh, no, it's the best place. And so the Pittsburghers hated that. And that's a tradition unlike any other, too, is every time we name a city, the people in that city freak out. And they're like, you're crazy. It sucks here. You're wrong. Okay? Anyway, that list gets some buzz, but it's not nearly as buzzworthy or fun to do than the list we are doing today. It is a tradition unlike any other. Our annual worst cities in America to find love. Time Magazine has its Person of the Year issue. Sports Illustrated has its swimsuit issue.
You've got your
People
top.
Magazine has its Sexiest Man Alive issue. And we, at the Great Love Debate, have our 10 worst cities to find love. Nothing gives me more pleasure. Nothing gives our audience more joy. And nothing does more to crush the hopes of the inhabitants of these cities. But secretly, they love it.
They love it
They
because
love
if
it
they're
it's
single,
like,
they're
it's
like, see,
not
I
me.
told you. It's the city.
This place. It's the city. As always, it's you because you live there, so you are part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. And if you are one of these cities, let this be your wake-up call. Take the time, pack it up, and head on down the road to where the dating waters are deeper and cleaner. Maybe one of those top 10 cities where the love river flows, if you will. So, you want to just throw out a guess of? I'm just
like
gonna,
the worst.
The worst city. You're like, oh my God, I bet that would suck to be single and dating there.
Okay, I'm not going to say Cleveland.
No, Cleveland will get good. It's not quite there yet.
It's not quite there yet. Oh God, the worst. I mean, I just think something like. I mean, I'm going to offend somebody though, aren't I?
No, we're not here to offend. We're here to. People are happy to be on the list. Oddly, they're not really offended. They're like, yes, it sucks.
Cincinnati.
No. Not on any list. Cincinnati's just not.
It's just not
it's
like
not
it doesn't.
Descript enough.
Okay.
So that was Jen's guess. We will table that for now. We'll get back.
That's
get
so
back to that. So
boring.
before we get into this year's list, let me give you the cities that were on this list last year.
Okay.
And fell off. I'm going to give you a couple that were on the list last year.
How did they fall off, though?
I'll get
You're
into
going to
that.
tell me that. Okay.
One of the cities on the list last year, and you can go back and listen to these. You should listen to all the Great Love Debates. Go back and listen. For 2019, Phoenix, and specifically Scottsdale, fell off this list. And so why did they fall off this list? Well, first of all, because I'm spending a lot of my time there. So now the community has access to me, which couldn't help but improve the love landscape. But the bigger reason there is that so many people are moving there, as I talked about earlier, and excited to be there, that it has really churned their dating waters up in a good way. So there's a lot of hope for the months and the year ahead. So Phoenix, you're off this list. You have a 1-year probation
Phoenix,
period.
Lucky Scottsdale.
Get
right?
it right.
Okay.
Scottsdale, Mesa, Gilbert, Tempe, all those places. There's hope for that. So they were on the list last year. They're no longer on the list. And another city that did not make the list this year is San Jose. And why did San Jose not make the list? Because we ran out of room. Like, it's the 11th worst city still. You didn't do it. San Jose, you didn't do a single thing to get better, but there are 10 others that happen to be worse. So you are still really terrible, but others did worse. So are you happy with that, Silicon Valleyers? Stick that in your algorithms. Code that one, Santa Clara County. And I could give that place a pass because it was so locked down in 2020. They locked down early. They locked down hard. Everybody went and worked from home. And you'd think, oh, that's probably a good reason. No, because that changed almost nothing there. It's always like that. So San Jose, still terrible, but didn't quite move the needle enough to make this list. So without further ado, so I'm going to say these, and you're going to give me your source. For somebody who's not out in the dating world and has not been for some time, and maybe you haven't even visited these cities, I want just your opinion on, yeah,
interesting.
Or you're like, yeah, I bet that does suck.
But can you tell me why they were? Can you also give me the reasons?
Yes.
Okay, good.
We will lay it all out. You'll chime in as you will. You could be like, oh, I have a friend there. I should tell her. You know. Okay, number 10. On the 2020 Worst Cities to Find Love in America from the Great Love Debate is Portland, Oregon.
Come on.
Now, Portland's been on this list a few times before. It has always been bad. It's, what I call the center of the beer and beard universe, which is always a bad thing for dating. And the weather's always been depressing and gloomy.
Dreary. I feel like everybody would just be dreary all the time.
But then you add in, like, the last 6 months, they've had civil unrest to an already sort of disgruntled place. So you have a foodie town, which is good, but you can't really go out to eat because there's a lot of shit going on. So Portland thinks it's weird the way Austin thinks it's weird. But Austin weird is kind of creative and kitschy, and Portland weird is just kind of freaky, but not really that fun. So if you want to go into a dungeon on your first date, have at it, Portland.
Okay, Portland.
But I don't think that's leading to any happily ever afters. No. So, yeah.
Gloomy. That's what I would say. It's gloomy. Gloomy relationships.
It's shadows have shadows. And you need some, people are like, oh, no, Mount Hood's beautiful. It's like 90 minutes away.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
That doesn't
count. No. Too far. It's got to be like 10 minutes away.
It's got to be like
15.
10 minutes and you can count it. So, it's not fun there. I get that people who live there try and pretend that they like it. And there's a lot of good things. You can bike around and you can drink your beer and you can try stuff. There's no dating going on there. Mm-mm. Every bar used to be a burlesque club. Everything's like, oh, it used to be a burlesque club. I'm like, so it's less fun now.
Less fun now. than it's ever been.
So that's our number 10. Worst city to find love for 2020. Our next place, number 9. It's sort of 3 places as one. It's hard to separate them geographically, so they're sort of 9A, 9B, and 9C for our purposes, and they are Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. That whole sort of Miami. If you watched elections this year, you're very familiar with Broward County and Miami-Dade and Palm Beach County. So first of all, I'm going to give some credit here. That part of the world, which we are heading to very shortly for the Great Love Debate World Tour, it's never looked better. Like Miami looks beautiful. Like
it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Nice. It's never looked better. It's spectacular. The beachfront and the architecture, and it just seems awful. But do not be fooled. It is a vacuous, dreadful dating scene. It's like, what's the art festival? Art Basel.
Basel. I don't know. I've always read it. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, that's where people go to gather to pretend they like art.
Fancy.
They pretend they like art. They don't like the art, just like everything else. They pretend to like each other in that part of South Florida of the world. Broward County, Palm Beach County, which is just north of Miami. If you don't have a big boat or a jet, it's just not happened for you as a dude. And the guys with the big boats and the big jets, they're like, I don't want you either. It's very strange. It's like they have the tools to date the way you dated on The Bachelor. They have the jets and they have the boats.
Special times, but they can't. But they don't seal the deal, or what's the problem?
It's the place where sort of both the men and the women think the others suck in like a weird way.
Are there actual young people there?
Yeah, there's young people.
There's an older crowd.
Yeah, creepy old men.
Yeah, old men with the boats trying
Gold
to pick
diggers.
up.
There you are.
Okay.
Sleazy Europeans and cheesy cars.
There you
they're
go.
All there.
Okay,
and
that makes sense.
And it's expanded. It used to be like, yeah, I get that's kind of Miami, but it has moved all the way up to like Jupiter now. So there's like 100-mile stretch of just a bad
dynamic,
dating scene.
The gross old men that want to just show off their boats and their jewelry on their gross
and then
bodies.
There's a vibrant cougar scene. So a woman there she's 40 and she wants to look 30, but it makes her look 50. So
that's what my husband says. It's like once you start getting all the work done, you don't know what age they are. So she's going out with some
22-year-old to make her ex-husband look mad. There's a lot of that going on there. It's not a happy scene. It's a beautiful place, and that's really
a good place to visit. But don't move there.
It's a good place to visit. Get out of there after 3 days, just like Vegas. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay, that's number 9.
Okay,
number 8. And this is a former winner of this list several times.
Okay.
So again,
so it's moving up. Actually, it's getting better.
Yeah, Seattle. And as I've always made the joke on here, Seattle's this mix of aggravated women and socially awkward men and rainwater, and it's a bad pool. And the weather does always suck. We're recording here in somewhere where the weather absolutely sucks now. But you're like, well, let's just make it till spring and it'll happen. It never happens in Seattle. They're like, when it's nice here, it's so nice. It's never nice. It's nice for like 3 weeks. So the reason why Seattle is no longer the worst or even the second worst, they're trying. They're having discussions about it. Every time we do this, we get a lot of press. They're now like, what can we do to make this better?
Yeah, what can they do? What are they doing to make it better?
Well, they've
moved up the list or down the list.
They're having conversations about it, and they're saying like, okay, we realize this is not working out. What can we do? So the women, I believe, in Seattle are at least taking a quarter step back towards the men, and the men are taking maybe an eighth of a step because they're so scared of the women back towards the women. And so Seattle is a hair better. It's by no means
better.
It's
not going to go. Could it ever make could they do anything to get off the list?
Well, Atlanta did. When we first started doing these lists back in, I don't know, like 2016 is the first time we did it. Atlanta was number 2 on our worst list, and now they're on our best list.
Well,
Atlanta changed it. We started we did a lot of shows there. We put a lot of work into Atlanta.
You've really helped Atlanta.
Well, we convinced the women that they would be like, it's 8-1 women to men here. It's not. That's a lie. And the word got out to the women like, oh, that's really not true. Like, that's not true.
That's not true.
And Atlanta just changed as a city. Atlanta just got better, and there were more things to do, and people came in. And so Atlanta went through this 5-year malaise where they weren't improving. And a lot of
Malaise.
people in Atlanta were like, do I want to stay in Atlanta? Do I want to move to Tampa? Do I want to move to Charlotte? And then Atlanta kind of got better. And a big thing of that is the attitude. And I'm not going to take full credit for that, but we did